Hi, I'm Dave Booth, Vice President of Sales with Caliber Equipment. And what I'd like to do is take a couple minutes and walk you through the operation, both pre-scrubbing and what to do after you scrub, and some of the maintenance things that you want to take care of on this particular machine. This is the Advance SC8000. It is a cylindrical scrubber sweeper, so it's designed as it's scrubbing your floor in a wet process to also pick up small debris. This particular machine in this category is the largest in the industry. It has 100-gallon solution capacity as well as recovery, and it has a 48-inch main scrubbing deck size. So again, in this category of a combustion IC machine, this model works off of LP. It's got the greatest capacity to give you maximum productivity. Now, before you operate any machine, any equipment, we highly recommend that you do read through the owner's manual. This is going to talk about some of the features, the different parts of the operation, as well as safety. So again, this particular machine, as in all equipment, operators should read the manual before operating it. Now, this machine, before you were to operate it, a couple things that you'd want to do. First, walk around and inspect the machine. Make sure, before you operate it, is there any issues that need to be reported to your maintenance department. For instance, on the side of the machine you have skirting. This is what helps keep the solution under the machine as you're scrubbing. Come around to the front. This particular model has a side brush option. Many of these have a sweeping broom. Some of them have neither. But again, we want to look at that. Also, we want to look underneath. Check the front drive wheel. Make sure we don't see anything wrapped around the wheel or any pieces or chunks taken out of the wheel. As we move over to this side, same as the other, we're going to inspect the squeegees. Make sure they're all in good shape before we start running the machine. And then finally, here in the rear is your rear squeegee. And the same thing, make sure that the rubber's in good shape, the band is connected, and that everything is attached, ready to go. Now, as I said, this particular machine has a 100-gallon solution capacity. In order to fill the machine prior to scrubbing, by simply removing this cap, now gives us access to this tank, which is the 100-gallon solution. There is a gauge on the control panel that'll tell you when you're full. It'll also alert you when you're empty. Over on this side, this is the recovery. And same thing, we want to open up the lid, pull that latch out which holds this lid in place, so I can inspect, make sure that this tank has been emptied, and this will be part of the post-scrubbing process to properly clean the machine. The last thing I want to show you before we'll talk about the operation is how to get to the debris tray and your brushes. Both sides of the machine has a latch. By simply releasing that, it lets the side skirts open up. So now I can access the debris tray as well as when I need to service and put the new brooms in. This swings all the way out, so it's out of the way. And again, you'll notice as we go around the machine, all of your rubber skirts have very simple hand nuts on them. So once the rubber has worn, I can take them off and I can flip them over and take my new edge and put it on the bottom. Any scrubber, the key to a dry floor is having good rubber on it. Back over here, the debris tray. As I said at the beginning, this is a cylindrical scrubber sweeper. So we have two rotary brushes here and here that are spinning, and as they scrub and put water down, the debris is flicked from the front to the next and into this tray. Once we open up the door, you'll notice we can easily slide the tray out, and there is a suction hose attached to it. So that pulls the liquid out of here as the solids are being trapped. So we need to remove that, which then lets us pull the tray out, and then we can take it and dump out any debris that has been collected inside the tray and rinse it out. Once you're done, simply slide it back in, reach underneath and make sure we reconnect the suction hose and then push it the rest of the way in. One of the things we have to understand about this type of machine is it is a wet scrubber sweeper, so it is not designed to be run dry. Meaning if you turn off the water and run it, you will have your brushes spinning, is going to accelerate the wear, and you're now going to have dust going all over the machine in your facility, because this is designed to scrub wet so that it not only cleans the floor, but it suppresses the dust. To easily access the brushes during your routine maintenance, by simply lifting this lever, pulling this out, this completely moves it out of the way, and now the brush can be slid out. We can rotate it. It can be cleaned. We can get in and rinse out the housing up underneath here, and then the brush simply slides back in. The back brush comes out on the other side. So the front one comes out on the right. The back brush, this is the hydraulics that's spinning it, it pulls out on the other side exactly the same way. Once I put the brush in and make sure I have it completely seated up into the drive, then all I do is have to shut this, lift the latch, lock it in place, and now we've got it secure and ready for scrubbing. Then very simply lift the latch and secure that in place. One of the things you have to be aware of on any cylindrical machine is that there are limits of the size of debris you can go over. These machines, any cylindrical scrubber sweeper, is designed to pick up small debris, pallet chips, metal shavings, nuts, bolts, small debris. What will happen if you accidentally run over large pieces of wood, banding, strapping, things of that nature, it'll wrap around the broom, and this is what is going to happen. It'll wrap around here and it'll grind right into the core of the broom, ripping the bristles off, and this is what you're going to have. Which now this broom is ruined, even though there's still bristles, but it's been damaged because of someone ran over a big chunk of wood or wrapped banding or strapping, and now they've ruined this brush. So again, cylindrical machines, you have a limitation of what you can go over. So you have to make sure those things are picked up throughout your facility prior to cleaning and scrubbing. Over here, once you've checked the machine, or now it's time to dump it, let me explain how that works. This holds 100 gallons of your dirty water that you have picked up. It comes up this hose, which is pulling up from the rear squeegee, and deposited down inside of this tank here. So by lifting up the lid, I can pull out my drain hose, remove the cap, lower it to the floor, and now the dirty water is going to come out. Then I can get in here and rinse this out. Very important that recovery tanks at the end of every shift, when you're done, we need to keep these tanks rinsed out and cleaned out. Once you've drained it, in the event that there is maybe some solid sand or grit that's at the bottom, there's a latch up underneath here. By releasing that latch, now I can actually tip this tank down, which gives me better access inside the tank, better to clean it out, and again, then I would drop my hose to the ground and flush out any debris, any dirty water that may be left in it. So again, Advance has done a great job of designing the machine so it's easy to dump and clean at the end of every shift, so we don't leave that dirty water in the tank. And if there's anything that gets in there, we can flush it out. This is actually designed, if this cable were to be removed, this tank could actually be lowered all the way to the ground and or removed off whenever there's any service necessary. Lock that in place, lift the top, push in the latch, let it lower so that it seals up so we have maximum suction. One last thing about maintenance. The engine of this machine is a 4-cylinder LP Kubota engine. In order to access that for routine maintenance or service, All we have to do is release these two side latches, one on each side. Reach under here in the middle, and then this rear cover lifts completely up in the air. There's a heavy support rod that then can be inserted to support that out of the way. Now we have full access to the engine, to the hydraulics for routine maintenance and service. And I'll point out a couple of things. First of all, you have a 12-volt battery for starting the engine. In the event the battery goes dead, it's very easy to access it for jumping or replacing. Underneath this shield is your pump that produces the pressure to your brushes. There is a filter. This filter needs to be checked periodically, and it simply screws off and insides a stainless steel screen so we can unscrew it, rinse it out, and put it back on. That's probably the #1 reason people have problems with getting enough solution into their brush deck, is because this filter is not being checked. Next, you see this hose here. This is a hose where if you ever had to drain your clean soap and water out of the machine, all you do is simply unscrew this cap and you would have the ability to drain it out. The engine itself, a couple things to be aware of. First of all, if you're checking the oil, you have a dipstick that is right here. And then right next to it on the valve cover is the cap where you, if you had to add oil, you could do it there. Next, you've got the air filter for the engine. Now this is inside of this area right here, and there's actually a gauge on top that as the filter gets clogged, it has to pull air harder, and you'll see that this will become red. Once this turns red, then that tells you it's time to clean or replace the filters. And inside this little glass window, you'll see that that turns red as the suction increases, which tells you, as I said, that your filter is clogged, it needs to be serviced and or replaced. Right here you can see you've got your overflow for your radiator. The radiator sits on the back here in your cap. The other thing for servicing, you have the radiator for cooling the engine. You have a secondary radiator here for your hydraulics. Part of routine maintenance is to release these latches, which now allows us to drop down. Now I can get in here and blow out any dust that may have accumulated on the radiator for the engine, as well as clean off the radiator for the hydraulics. Again, both important parts of keeping the machine running well is that it runs cool, which means keeping the radiator clean, as well as the hydraulic radiator. Of course, your hydraulic filter is right here. Very easy to access. Part numbers are on it. So when it comes time for servicing, you'll know what part to order. This is the hydraulic tank. So the hydraulic fluid that runs all the motors goes in here. This is where you'd fill it. It takes standard SAE1030 oil, and it tells you the proper amount to fill it. So as you can see, it's very easy to access the engine compartment for routine maintenance. Last thing, your squeegee here on the bottom. This is what dries your floor. Over time, as I said to begin with, the rubber is going to get chafed, beveled, or scratched from being dragging on concrete. But as the rubber wears, by simply releasing this band, I can take the rubber and flip it over. Because I have multiple edges on the rubber, and to get the driest floor, I need to have a sharp edge. This tool, in the event that it gets hooked on something, could pull off of the machine. That's why it's slotted here and here. In the event that happens, they have little wrenches built on, so I can put it back on the machine and use these to tighten it back up. But again, as you see, everything is very accessible and easy for servicing. And once you're complete, we just lower the rear compartment and lock it down. Okay, now that we've gone around the machine and we've talked a little bit about the pre-operation things to check, we've talked about properly filling the machine, as well as the routine maintenance, let's now take a look at how the machine operates. Once you're ready to scrub, obviously you have an adjustable seat so you can get the right distance so it's comfortable and safe for the operator. Down here, the drive system, your gas pedal, you have forward, and by pushing the heel, puts it in reverse. You do have a brake here, and by pushing it down and locking this toe, it now locks in for your emergency brake. By simply tapping this, it releases it, and now we've taken the brake off. Anytime you're not driving the machine, it's always recommended to put the safety brake on just to minimize any chance of the machine moving when it's not actually being operated. You also have an adjustment for your steering. So by lifting this lever, I can move it in multiple positions to where it's going to be comfortable, and again, it's going to be safe for the operator. Last thing before we talk about the operation of it, this machine, as you notice, you're sitting on the right side of the machine. So anytime I'm going to be close to walls, racking, any kind of equipment, I want to scrub on the right side of the machine because that is where the operator has the best sight line. If we get too close to things on this side, that's your blind side. You can't see how close you are, and you'll end up damaging the machine or your equipment. So any edge work or anything close to equipment, we always scrub on the right side and turn to the left. This is your overall control panel. So we have a basic key to start the motor up here, and I'll turn it. Which, as you can hear it, it started up. It's right now on a low RPM. When you're ready to scrub, you always have to remember to increase the RPM. That's what this button is here for turtle and rabbit. Once I've started it, by pressing the middle of the button, I'll bring the RPMs up, and now I'm at the proper operating RPM to either drive or to go ahead and start scrubbing. When you're done scrubbing at the end, we always want to hit the button and lower the RPMs before we turn off the engine. As we walk through the different buttons, you've got a headlight control here. This button controls a sprayer for the curb broom if yours is equipped with that. Another option is the flashing lights. This particular button adjusts the side brooms going up and down if your particular model has that option. Down here, the most important two buttons are scrubbing and stopping. Very simply laid out, green for go. When I'm ready to start scrubbing, by simply hitting this green button, it will automatically lower the scrub deck, lower the side brooms if yours is equipped, as well as lower the squeegee. And then when I hit the gas pedal, everything automatically turns on. When you've completed your scrubbing and your cleaning process, by simply hitting the red button, that will automatically turn off the brush system. It'll raise the squeegee and turn off your water flow. So again, for simplicity, green button turns everything on, red button turns everything off. Now as we look over to the other side, once you're into scrub mode, you can increase or decrease how much solution is going to be coming out by hitting the plus for more, the minus for less. And as you do that, you will see that on the control LED, there'll be bars and there'll be a little faucet icon, so you'll know if you're increasing the water or reducing it. Depending on if your machine is equipped with an onboard soap mixing system or EcoFlex, that button would then be activated for turning on chemical mixture. This button increases all of your settings during an area or a time that you need more power. This is for recycling. And last button, this is the button that turns on the squeegee in the back. And again, some of these buttons may be deactivated if your particular model is not set up for that. And then last, of course, we have a horn that you can press for your safety. So as you see, you can do things independently, or you can do everything with just one push of the button. Again, as we've gone through the machine, before you operate, we highly recommend that the operators take a few minutes, sit down, read through the operator's manual. Hopefully after listening to this video and you look at the manual, a lot of the things will become very clear. Proper pre-inspection is very important before you operate the machine, that you've inspected your brushes, your squeegees, your tires, that everything is safe. And then again, when you're done scrubbing, that we make sure that we've dumped the dirty water and rinsed the tank. Opened up the side door, pulled out the tray, and rinsed that as well before we put it away. Last thing to show you is this is an LP machine, liquid propane, and to access the tank by simply switching that. Now it gives you very easy access to your LP tank. In this particular model, this drops down, that holds up, there's a little magnet there, and now I can safely unconnect the hose, close the valve, pick the tank off, and when I insert the new tank, lower that part down, lock it in place, and then close the top. If you need any additional information, or when it comes time for service of parts, give us a call. Caliber Equipment. We can be reached directly at 888-550-0945, or come to our website, caliberequipment.com. And thanks for watching.